Hey everybody, how are we doing today? Hope you are having a wonderful Saturday. Just finished watching Michigan destroy Ohio. And that means, well, not that I'm a Michigan or Ohio fan, but it's time to drink wine and it's time to talk about Cab Franc. So today I am getting together with Thumbprint. So give me a second as I invite them in, and they are going to conversation about Cab Franc. So, hey Scott, how are
Hey,
you
Lori, how are
doing?
you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Anytime I could start enjoying a bottle of Cab Franc at 1 o'clock our time, I'm doing great.
I know. It's not too shabby to open a bottle at 1 p.m. And so I was just showing the followers the amazing bottle. I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
Um,
I have to say, whoa, mine's
hey,
actually almost, well, it's half full still. I'm going to go with
uh,
half.
I literally just opened it like a half an hour ago, let it breathe a
Nice.
little bit.
Sure.
Um, and I'm kind of bummed because I left something inside and I don't want to go back inside to go get it. Um, but I was looking through some stuff of mine years and years and years ago. I was in this little craft mode and I created these candles that I bought this glass candle and then I used labels to kind of whatever you do on it.
Oh,
And right
yeah.
there, prominent, is Thumbprint Cellars.
Oh, yeah. I'm really surprised that we don't have one of those within reach. I've a house actually that takes our bottles, cuts the tops of them off, and then fills them with I don't know, some kind of a some kind of a sustainable wax. I'm not sure of the
Right.
process, but uh, then we've been selling those like hotcakes for years.
Yeah. So this actually is, I took some of your labels
Oh, the old
and
labels.
I
Oh
did
my
it.
gosh.
Oh, did I lose you? Oh, there we
No,
go.
I'm still
Yeah,
here.
the old label. Yeah. Um,
That's amazing. So yeah, I have a sample close to one of the old labels here. This is a 2005 Cabernet Franc from the Ramazzotti vineyard. It's designed after the old label that we had, which was actually the paper label before we moved to the big screen printed thumbprint. But yeah, it's this similar style that you're talking about, right?
yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. I was like,
yeah.
hey, look, there's Thumbprint. Look at that. And I brought it. I put it next to, because I'm outside, so I put it next to the door, and then I walked right past
Oh,
it as I was coming outside. But
that's right.
I'll have to take a picture of it and
And you
post it.
and you can let your fans know that they could call the tasting room or look online at thumbprintcellars.com, and they'll see the candles, and you can purchase the candles online and we'll ship them to you plenty of time for the holidays if you need to.
All right, there's the
That,
first stocking stuffer, I think.
there you go. Nice.
All right, all right. Let's talk some Cab Franc here. So so this is what I have. I have you and Erica are the proprietors and winemaker of Thumbprint Cellars. You have two main focuses: to make exceptional artisan wines and to provide their guests with a superb experience. And you're proud to be pouring handcrafted wines and having a fun time while doing it. So sounds good to me.
Right. Yeah, and it is good. We live in Sonoma County. It's a lot less restrained than a lot of parts of Europe that we were touring, drinking a lot of French wines over the summer. And, we're able to play around a lot. And I thought, well, my wife's favorite varietal is Cab Franc. And when it came time to make rosé one year, I had extra Cab Franc grapes available. And I thought, well, why wouldn't I? So I started researching Cabernet Franc rosé, and it was like, boom, Loire Valley. I'm like, oh my gosh, the
Yes.
Loire Valley? We got to go there. It's all about Cab Franc there, and and the rosé they make is only about maybe 10% of their total production is in Cab Franc rosé. The
Okay.
rest of it goes to red wines. So I think we can even top that. If you're thinking about Sonoma County in general and the Cab Franc rosés made here, I have not met another winemaker or another winery that actually makes a Cab Franc rosé. So it is the most delicious wine. And I know we're supposed to be talking about the red rose.
No, we're just
Cab
talking
Franc,
about the grape.
but,
I'm
but
all happy to talk about rosé.
I always start with the rosé to get me warmed up, so I can then discuss the actual Cab Francs later. But this amazing thing happened when we were in Loire Valley. I discovered that there are so many different styles of Cabernet Franc made, and from the rosé to kind of more of a nouveau style, which was not barrel aged. You know, you can get those bottles for anywhere from 20 to 30 euro to these more rich and more depth filled Cabernet Francs, like the style that I've been making since 2000. So it was just this amazing experience for me to be able to witness the kind of the roots of this passion that I have for making Cabernet Franc.
Were you there while they were harvesting and processing? Did you get to see?
We were there just prior to it. Yeah, we came
Okay.
back cutting it close in early
Because
August.
I was going to say, how did you harvest and process if you were there?
No, I was hedging my bets that I was going to make it back in time for our harvest, and we just made it back in. So no,
was it early for you too?
we started bringing whites in fairly early. Yeah, definitely. And our Cab Franc Rosé came in the third week in August this year. So that's about right on schedule. We've come in somewhere between the second and third week for our Rosé program.
Okay, so then by that date, you're doing it as a direct press.
Well, we had a little fun with it this year, actually. I foot treaded about half of the bins that came in.
That's awesome.
To extract a little extra color and a little extra depth. And then, yes, everything went into the press, direct press. Juice went into tank to settle, and we initiated fermentation in tank.
Nice. And how long did it stay on the skins to give you the color you wanted?
Well, it was pretty much all day. So the fruit came in first thing in the morning. We did our whole morning routine. The more grapes came in the afternoon. Then we started doing the press sometime in the early afternoon. So most of the day. Yeah, I'd say 6 hours.
Cool. And then how do you describe that rosé? Is it an acidic rosé? Is it a full rosé? What is it like?
So I've always made dry rosés. So it's very similar to the 2021. So this is last year's vintage as opposed to the 2022, which we foot treaded. And the 2021 has a very similar presence as the 2022. It's right off the bat, I get this beautiful passion fruit in the nose. And if you don't know passion fruit, it's an amazing fruit. It's grown quite a bit in Hawaii. It's called lilikoi in Hawaii. But it brings me there all the time. Every time I taste this, and I think this is why I try to drink it every day to get my aloha on. But it's just so pleasant, and you can tell from the nose that there's just this richness, but also this kind of dry complexity. The acid is definitely elevated, but not so much that it is almost tannic. You know, it's more enveloping of the fruit complexity in this. So beautifully balanced, and I really think that Cab Franc is a beautiful varietal to make rosé from. I can't believe nobody else is doing it around here.
It is, I think I've seen like one or two, and then we do have a couple of white Cab Francs out there. People are starting to have fun with it, and the more fun the winemakers have with it, the more fun the drinkers are going to have.
That's right. I mean, there's no reason we can't have fun, and this is a great varietal to work with for that. Yeah, no doubt.
And now when you went back, let's take you back to the Loire. When you went there, were you, was it pure fun, like, or was it like research where you're like, all right, let's find out their tips and tricks and go from there?
Well, after 28 years of doing this, there's no line that delineates fun from R&D. It's uh,
That's true.
I'm sorry to say it's one and the same. So yeah, so we had a blast. From sneaking a bottle of rosé into these castles or chateaus and sipping it out of our water bottle with our little baguette and brie to enjoying a beautiful bottle of artisan crafted full-bodied style Cab Franc with dinner. We went through the gamut and really enjoyed a lot of different kinds of Cab Franc while we were there.
That is all. Did you keep track of how many bottles of Cab Franc you drank?
No, I stopped doing that because it's embarrassing.
Triple digits were too high.
Right. Well, I did post a video of us. It started raining one day, and this is in early August. It started raining one day, and we were like, well, what should we do? And we had 4 bottles of rosé that we had collected, and we're like, well, let's do a rosé tasting. So I opened up all the rosés, and we started tasting Cab Franc rosés at this gorgeous Airbnb we were staying at.
Didn't sound like a bad day.
Yeah, no, and that was just that was lunch basically. I think that was like, but it was late in if we were here, it would have been late in the evening in California. So
that's what you always go by, the time zone that makes it the most plausible, right?
Right. Most convenient. Yeah, that was the convenient factor for sure. Yeah.
All right, so I have with me your 2018 Cab Francs, so from Ramizotti Vineyard. So first, how did we get to your thumbprint as your label here?
Yeah.
Or as your brand, I should say.
Well, it happened very quite by accident. I had started making wine as a hobby in college, and actually inspired by a trip to Florence, Italy to study art history during the summer between my junior and senior year in college. I came back and started making wine, and being in Sonoma County, it was pretty easy. We had neighbors that had grapes that were offered to let us pick some, and we just had fun doing it. And wine turned out pretty good. Erica, at the time, my fiance, now wife of 28 years, had bought me this book, How to Make Wine in Your Garage. I think that was literally what the title was. It was way before Wine for Dummies or anything like that. And I mean, I didn't really pay much attention to it, but I knew the yeast and the fermentation and, alcohol and all of this stuff. And I just kind of went at it, and the wine turned out great. We bottled it, drank most of it, and then decided that we were going to give some of it away to our friends and family for the holidays. Well, Erica had bought me this gold pen, and she said, do something creative, sign some of these bottles, we're going to give them away to our friends when we go to this party. And she handed me this gold pen, and it says to shake vigorously. So I'm shaking it, and I'm thinking creative. And she's finishing getting ready, and I hear the hair dryer going in the background, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm still shaking this pen. And the hair dryer turns off, and I better do something here. Pull the cap off, and I started to write something, and the ink just blobbed out of the pen. And it's dripping off the sides of the bottle, and it's, about to drip onto the countertop. So I kind of like mop it up from dripping on the countertops. And now I've got it on my thumb, and it's got this gold ink, and I stuck it on one of the bottles, and it left this gold thumbprint. So I just kind of kept sticking thumbprints on these bottles, and everything dried off. We went, and our friends loved it, and they were asking for more of that thumbprint wine, and the passion, the brand, everything just kind of unfolded from there.
That's pretty cool. You have to love when accidents happen and they turn out to be such great things.
This has been like one big accident, I'm telling you. the whole thing. Everything about it seems like it's meant to be.
So why do you love Cab Franc so much? What is so exciting to you about Cab Franc?
That's such a great question. There's so many varietals that I'll swirl it, I'll stick my nose in it, I'm like, boom, quintessential Dry Creek Zin, right? You know exactly what varietal that is. Cabernet Sauvignons can be a little bit austere. They sometimes have a bit too much oak on them, so it's hard to tell what varietal is going on. But Cab Franc has a very distinctive characteristic from me. Regardless of where it's from, there's always that hint of pyrazine, that green bell pepper or green bean character. And it can be such a subtle little hint, or it can be really like a dominant feature of the varietal. But you know you're drinking Cabernet Franc when you get that hit in your nose. And obviously I don't get that in the rosé. Again, I get that Lillicoy, but I guess I should pour some red by now too here. But when I get the
Twist
Cabernet,
your arm.
Yeah.
Twist your
Sorry
arm,
for being.
right?
I'm so behind. When I get, there's always just that subtle hint, and I couldn't quite say bell pepper because I'm not a big green bell pepper fan, and I couldn't quite say vegetal because it didn't come across that way. It almost to me came across more of like this certain type of cannabis, where it's got that freshness to it, that kind of hint of I'll just say dank character. And to me that Cab Franc has that almost floral, herbaceous, fruity character that comes through to it. And I always love the aroma. It's so many times I'll just swirl and stick my nose in there and just watch as it unfolds and develops into such a beautiful wine.
Well, you know what else I'm getting on here, which are two things that I love in Cab Franc, is licorice, black licorice, or any I go to the candy. I don't go to the to the spice, whatever. So I get that black licorice, and whenever I get that in a Cab Franc, to me, I'm like, yes, this is going to be a Cab Franc I'm going to enjoy. And they all don't have it. It depends on the soil that it's growing in and what clone it is and all of that. But this really has a beautiful licorice, black licorice to it. And it's got a floral essence to it. Also that lavender and violet flavor aromas are in there. And that to me is a Cab Franc. As far as the bell pepper, I'm not getting, and I'm not a fan of the bell pepper. I don't want it in my face. But I agree to be a Cab Franc. It needs to be found its way in there, and it's there, but it's not the forefront of the wine.
Right. Yeah, the pyrazine character can be really dominant, and that is a factor of the growing conditions. Most of the Cab Franc clones on the correct rootstock will be fairly vigorous. And if you let it grow without trimming back some of the clusters, without dropping some of the fruit, it will be a little bit thinned out. That pyrazine will be a little bit more predominant. So we really work closely with the growers to make sure that that this is being cropped and grown specific to what the varietal needs. The other thing we'll do is because these rows are running north-south, we'll pull the leaves off of the east side of the morning side of the vine. So it'll allow some of that early morning ripening period, and of course airflow, so that there's no issues with mildew or anything like that. So it is a fairly easy varietal to grow. I always talk about Zinfandel as being the most challenging of all wines to make. So, if Zin is a 10 on the difficult scale, I'd say that Cab Franc is probably in that 5 to 6 range.
Okay.
As long as you're really paying attention, dropping fruit if it's overcropped, and thinning out the leaves on the early morning sun side.
Right. And then that's really important that you're only trimming them on the early morning side, because if we're trimming them on the afternoon side, then they go to raisins because they do get
Yeah.
sunburned relatively easily.
Oh, and in Alexander Valley, it goes to 28 bricks in a matter of days. I mean, the bricks, the measurement of the sugar can spike just as if the weather was changing. So yeah, we want to be able to leave that that afternoon sun side, that western side, protected from the direct, intense afternoon sun.
And so the Ramazzotti
Yeah.
vineyard, where is that actually located in Alexander Valley?
Yeah, so Alexander Valley is pretty broad, open valley. There are the hillsides up the Mayacamas, which connect into Napa, Lake County, Mendocino. But this is more the western part of Alexander Valley, almost onto the hillsides that go into Dry Creek Valley.
Okay.
So it's considered valley floor. It's considered valley floor, and there's kind of a mineral component to the soil. Deeper, a little bit deeper is kind of that old riverbed, loose gravel. So these roots have a chance to really develop a nice hearty deepness, and in a lot of cases are now finding their own source of water. So, the other factor that we didn't talk about, which is very important, particularly in France, is the water. And these are vines that don't want to be watered extensively. They want to be really stressed just to the point where they have to find their own source of water in the right location. And this vineyard, although it is valley floor and not on this beautiful, sexy hillside or anything, it actually is the right spot for this particular clone.
And so are you stopping your water kind of right at veraison?
Well, it depends on the year. Okay. Sometimes we won't even water up to veraison. I don't think the last couple years, in fact, that this vineyard has received any water until later, when the temperatures really do start to spike. Like we had a little heat wave this year, and the grower was trying to convince us to pick right during the heat wave, and I'm looking at the weather and I'm like, we're gonna have 6 days of this hot. Let's hit it with some water for 2 of those days, and then it's gonna cool down, and then let's look at which day we want to pick in this cool down. And it ended up that we made the right decision. That would have been way out of balance if we tried to pick during that heat wave. And I think they were trying to do it out of convenience. But this is the knowledge that I have of this vineyard and how I'm able to then say, hold on, let's give it a pause and pick the right day for the grapes, not for your schedule.
Right, absolutely. And that is a big thing with this vintage. There were so many wineries that were picking because of that heat wave. And at least like in the Paso area, we were getting the threat of heavy rains. So then people were worried about the heavy rains on top of it, and then the mildew and things like that. And these are all decisions that winemakers have to go on. Like there's no book that tells you this, the correct way to do it, right? It's
yeah.
You got to live and learn from somewhere. You probably made a mistake somewhere years ago that taught you that lesson of, no, let's not pick too early.
Yeah, well, there's certain varietals, if you're talking about rain, because we did have rain this year also. We had all of our thin-skinned varietals off by this point. So your Pinot Noir, your Zinfandel, Petit Syrah, all of these thin-skinned varietals probably wouldn't have made it through that rain as well as the thicker skinned varietals like Merlot, Cab Franc. without going into too much detail, it didn't hinder anything. It actually gave us a little water push, which was kind of then pushed us back even a couple days further from picking some of the varietals, because now you got to get that water to equilibrate through the vines and turn into carbohydrates.
Right. So this is a Ramazzotti vineyard, so it's from a single vineyard. You're claiming it as a single vineyard. Do you get Cab Franc from other vineyard sites also, or is this the only site that you get Cab Franc from?
Yeah, hey, if there's any Cab Franc growers out there in Sonoma County, I'm interested. Yes, Ramazzotti is our staple Cab Franc, but I make 3 or 4 different Cab Francs every year.
All right, let's talk about that.
Yeah, well, again, my wife's favorite varietal, so keeping her happy is important. I make the Cab Franc from the Lopez family vineyard, which is actually a vineyard that we've been working with for quite some time. And they
were watching us earlier. I saw
I saw them on there, right. Freddie Lopez is actually an employee of ours now, because he was doing such a great job for his family's vineyard social media. I'm like, so harvest is over. Want to work for us now? So he was like, yeah. So he's doing our social media and marketing, which has just been amazing. So if you guys have been following Thumbprint and noticed this huge increase in quality of our social media,
it's all Freddie.
To Freddie for that. Yeah, that's all him. So Freddie Lopez has been helping his dad Ramiro in this vineyard for the last few years. Prior to Freddie coming over, this vineyard was planted to Chardonnay on I believe it's 1104 Paulson rootstock, but I might be wrong. If Freddie's there, he can probably remind me. The Chardonnay was declining. In one of the particular blocks, we decided to chop off all of the heads of the Chard and graft over Cabernet Franc onto the vines. And the budwood was from the Ramazzotti vineyard, which is about 2 miles as a crow fly north from where the Ramiro vineyard is, or the Lopez vineyard is. So the grower at Joe Ramazzotti saved some of his clean budwood, and we used that then to tea-bud over the Lopez vineyard. So that's where we're getting the rosé at this point. We've been making also a nouveau from that vineyard, which is a lighter style red, but still so no oak, no malolactic, or 50% malolactic. And so now that's 2 Cab Francs. I make the Cab Franc Ramazzotti as a vineyard designate. I had been making a Dry Creek Cab Franc, but these old vines just dove in quality, and we have not made that since 2018. And then I also do an elevated brand called Sculptured Cellars, which is our second label that I do a Cabernet Franc, primarily Cabernet Franc wine that is blended. And I usually add a little bit of Merlot, Petit Verdot, and Cabernet Franc, and Malbec to that Cab Franc.
Okay. That's a nice blend. I think Petit Verdot is like a beautiful wine to go with Cab Franc. They like each other. They work well together.
Yeah, and we get good ripe Petit Verdot in Alexandra Valley. So we don't have the some of the dilemmas that they have in France and Bordeaux is they can't quite ripen the Petit Verdot to the point where it really expresses the varietal character. So I use it very judiciously in blends, because like Cab Franc, it can really take over, and then it's more less a blend and more about that varietal. So the blending to me is really about the flavors and the context of how everything mingles.
Right, absolutely. And a little bit of Petit Verdot goes a long way,
Right.
definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to take you back to the Loire when you're in there drinking, when you're there and you're drinking Cab Franc. Are you comparing it mentally to your own Cab Franc?
It's impossible for me not to compare other wines to my own, good or bad. I mean, some I'll go, what? This is how I want to make it from now on. I got to figure out how this happened. And, I'll use that as kind of a direction at least. And, experimentation every year to me is key to keeping it fresh and exciting. So I don't try to do the same thing every year. I'm always trying to do something a little different and innovative. I mean, innovation is not really part of winemaking, but I want to be in the forefront of how to make the best wines from the varietal. So yeah, comparing over there, it started off kind of a little bit hard because we weren't drinking like their top quality Cab Francs. We were drinking these 25 to 30 euro Cab Francs, and I was just kind of like, it doesn't have, what the depth, that character. It doesn't. I mean, I don't even know what the varietal is. So I was kind of going through this process. And we went to this one wine shop, and it was near some castle that we went to. And
that narrows it down.
Yeah, right. And the owner of this wine shop was so informative. It was like he had worked in a vineyard before, spoke great English, and was really telling us more about what the different styles are across the board. And he said that, one vineyard can make several different styles of Cabernet Franc, from the rosé to an early release to a medium bodied, then to their full bodied style Cab Franc. And typically in this price range, you're going to be tasting those kind of early release Cab Francs. And we were drinking a lot of the, at the time, their 2020s, and and even some 2021 red Cab Franc. Yeah. So, and that's just a few months that it had been out at this point. So, we started to understand that I can't compare this necessarily to the Ramazzotti or our elevated sculptured style. We need to really think more of how this would be if we were making more of a Nouveau style. So in 2021, I made a Nouveau with Cab Franc and Malbec, and the intention was that it was made to drink early, and we served it chilled, actually.
Okay.
And for the 100 cases that we made of that, it's totally sold out. We were selling it spring through the summer, and everybody that we poured it for was walking away with a bottle or more of it. It was unbelievable. And this year, the 2022 vintage, I'm doing a Nouveau of 100% Cabernet Franc. So that's going to be really exciting. We'll bottle that early March. We'll release that April, early May. And same thing, we'll probably sell out of that through, hopefully I'll have some the fall this year, because I would have loved to have had a bottle of that with Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I bet that would be awesome. I was trying to tell people how amazing Cab Franc is for the Thanksgiving table, that, it goes with the turkey, it goes with the cranberry, it goes, no matter what type of cranberry stuff you're serving, right? Whether it's real cranberry or that gel thingamajiggy or whatever, right? It just is perfect on the table, and it goes with the vegetables that you're serving. It doesn't matter what the vegetable is, it's going. And my Thanksgiving meal is typically the biscuits. It goes great with biscuits.
Yeah.
But the lighter version would be like, okay, I'm going to start with the lighter version Cab Franc, and then go to the red Cab Franc.
Right. Yeah, and you know, you could do a whole meal surrounding Cab Franc and the different styles. I have honestly the with our more full-bodied style, particularly the Ramazzotti Vineyard, we did a pairing with that over for Cinco de Mayo with a mole sauce with chili rellenos and mole sauce. And if anybody's ever tried making mole sauce, you know, there's, I don't know, 30 something ingredients. I had to go to 3 different stores to get it all. And it was not even close to some of the amazing moles that I've tasted in the restaurants that we have here in Sonoma County. But Freddie's mom makes chili rellenos and then made some mole, and we decided to do this chili relleno mole pairing for Cinco de Mayo and blasted it out, and it is
amazing.
Like heaven. It really is. So I'm really surprised how well Cab Franc kind of tamps down some of the spicy foods and pulls out some of the fruit in the food. And it's really amazing. I challenge anybody listening to find some kind of a not so hot, you know, not like these ghost pepper burn your face off kind of things, but really well balanced Cabernet Franc with really well balanced medium heat, particularly in the mole sauce type of dishes. You won't go wrong. It'd be amazing.
All right, I hear a challenge put out there. All right,
Yeah.
people, let's start posting pictures of Cab Franc and mole sauce. Let's see what recipes you guys can come up with, right?
Yum. Yes.
So I was going to ask you, and that kind of leads into it. What's your favorite Cab Franc pairing?
Oh my gosh, that is so delicious.
It really is.
The 2018 right now is drinking beautifully, and I have this. I don't know if it's as a winemaker, it's not a flaw, it's a tool. But I taste potential. And when I'm tasting wine, even if it's an older vintage, like maybe a 2012 that we still have kind of hanging around, I was looking for one. I wish I had one. I went back as far as the '05, but I love to taste wine and kind of project out, where is this wine developing, or how will it develop? Where will it go? And this 2018, I think, has so much potential. And it falls in line with all the other Ramazzotti wines that I've made, but it really has this beautiful character to it that is just expanding, and I can see you're taking your time enjoying your glass. And
I poured another glass. I was underneath it. I poured another glass.
Well, if I keep talking, it gives you more of a chance to taste. So all right.
I will say, it's evolved just from that first glass to now. Now there's so much red fruit coming out of it. You know, it's just opened up so beautifully, and you know, that's something that I think, you know, luckily, you know, you can't really well, I guess you could chug an entire bottle, but you know, the thing is that first glass to like that second glass, there's dimension that changes. You know, the character of that wine changes.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful wine in that first glass, but this is stunning. Like, this really is stunning now that red fruit has come out. Yeah.
So going back to the question on the pairing, I mean, I already spoke about the mole. Really, honestly, it's one of my favorite dishes anyway. Either that or a rich eggplant lasagna.
Okay.
And you know, I make my sauce a little bit spicy. I mean, not hot, but there's almost not quite like an arrabbiata, but kind of in that category of just having a little bit of heat to it. But it kind of pulls all the rest of the flavors together as well. So I actually, that's kind of cheating, because I'll pair anything with lasagna and it'll go whatever I use in the sauce. So yeah.
Okay. I like it. I love Cab Franc with like a a butternut squash ravioli, or something in a brown sage butter sauce.
Oh yeah.
Something like that. It's,
Yeah.
and it changes the dimension of the wine, but it comes together so nicely. Those, slightly earthy, flavors in the food just pair out so nicely with the Cab Franc to me.
Absolutely. And, and I the classic, I'm not a meat eater, but I used to, obviously, and I worked as in fine dining through college. So the kind of the classic rack of lamb with the mint jelly kind of thing, as long as the mint jelly is not too sweet, more of a almost more of a chutney in a sense, rather than a sweet jam type of a thing where it's more acid driven liquid than, but yeah, I've heard that the people have enjoyed that as well. I haven't done that in a long time, but
it's a lot of work.
Yeah, well, so is making lasagna.
Well, that's true. That is true.
But we're total foodies, and Sonoma County has so many amazing restaurants, and although we don't sell to do any wholesale sales, we're only direct to consumer. There are a lot of instances where people will bring a bottle of Thumbprint to a restaurant and say, "Oh my gosh, I had this with that, and it was incredible." And it's always great to hear what people are enjoying our wines with. And the pictures from Thanksgiving that we get with their bar with a Magnum and 3 other Thumbprints, and it's always amazing to see.
Warms the heart, right? It's like it never gets old seeing your bottle in front of people's homes.
Oh, it's such an honor. We get so many stories that like that, and we're in. We always encourage our club members to contact us if their kids are getting married. We'll give you the wine. We'll supply the wine. Just let us know what you need, and we love that. We love that we're able to be a part of these festivities in spirits, and part of us being there with you.
Right, absolutely. So now Cab Franc Day is December 4th. So is Thumbprint doing anything special for Cab Franc Day?
Of course. Yeah.
All right. What are we doing?
I think we could probably pull out some Cab Franc Magnums. I know we have at least 1 3-liter left. Maybe not. We might have sold out. Anyway, we're going to do something special for Cab Franc Day. I know Freddie's on that. If he can say something like, "Yeah, we're doing something." Remember, we talked about that at the marketing meeting. That would be great. I don't have my notes in front of me, but I will say that we will be drinking and enjoying and sharing Cab Franc. We'll post about it, of course, and because you're such an integral part of Cab Franc Day, we will make sure that we are letting you know and giving you credit for being such an advocate as well.
Well, thank you. I would love to be tagged to see those photos of what's going on for Cab Franc Day. It is like it's my Christmas almost. December 4th is like my Christmas. And then December 5th, nobody better talk to me because I'm just sleeping. Just sleeping the whole day.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's like, ooh.
It could be a rough one if you're drinking. But again, we did this through the pandemic, we did sip happy hour every Friday night. And we encouraged our regular people that were joining us every week. I guess they're like top fans or something on Facebook or whatever. I would honorarily bestow on them being a professional. And as a professional, you're not drinking wine, you're tasting wine. So we taste wine quite a bit.
That's good. That's always a good thing. It's a good way to spend the day. Good way to spend the day. So how can people get a hold of Thumbprint your Thumbprint Cellars here on Instagram, and Freddie
Mhm.
can reply to whatever people say. But how else can people find you? How can they order your wine? What, how do they get to you?
Yeah. So again, we're entirely direct consumer. We have a website with e-commerce and all that good stuff you can buy online. We ship legally to all the states that we can. Of course, California is good. So Paso Robles will send you wine right down there. We are at thumbprintcellars.com. That easy. Don't forget the B, thumbprintcellars.com.
Got to know how to spell.
Right, right. No, I think most people have it down by now. And all you have to type in is well, at least on my browser, THU, and it comes up. So there it is. Anytime I forget.
And you're doing tastings?
We are open 7 days a week. We have a tasting room in downtown Healdsburg. Healdsburg is a little gem of a town from the mid 1800s, founded. It has become a mecca for wine people from the Bay Area and from all around. We're getting people from the East Coast a lot more now too. And Healdsburg is just a beautiful little town. We have a tree lighting ceremony happening tonight. And the whole town will be out, the whole town of 10,000 people. But we're right on the plaza. We have a tasting room in probably one of the best locations I've ever known. So we've been there now. What's today's Saturday? Yesterday was our 18-year anniversary being on the.
Wow! Happy anniversary!
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, amazing. I don't know where.
So I'm going back to when we were there. Gosh, you must have just been starting when we visited you, because I got married in 95.
Mm-hmm.
I should say we got married in 95,
right.
not I. We got married in 95. And it had to have been like right kind of soon after we were married that we were there.
So we moved into our first tasting room in 2004. We were the 7th tasting room in town. And I think it ballooned up to somewhere around 40 before the pandemic. And now we're kind of equalized down to something in the high 20s or 30s or something. But yeah, it's a pretty active community of food, wine, great little shops with a bunch of local makers. And it's a really great place to be.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your passion for Cab Franc. And again, Thumbprint Cellars, and this is the 2018 Ramazzotti Vineyard Cab Franc. And I did save a little bit so I can raise my glass and say slancha. And
cheers
happy
to you.
early Cab Franc day.
Yeah, thank you. And I really appreciate you including us in your day. And we look forward to sharing our day with you.
Absolutely. Have a great weekend, everybody. And thank you so much, Scott. And we'll talk again soon.
Bye.